As you evolve, as you grow, you have to look 2 to 3, 4, 5 years down the road on what the next thing is so you can assemble the right team to accomplish that goal.
Hi, I'm Dana White, founder and host of One Real Story, the podcast and book series, where we provide entrepreneurs with practical advice through the voices of successful entrepreneurs. If you're a veteran, aspiring, or even an established entrepreneur, this show is for you. As always, I'm coming to you live from the Voice Hub production studio in Indy Atlantic, Florida. I'm excited because our special guest today has over 20 years and is now a retired Air Force pararescueman. Also, he just happens to be an innovative entrepreneur. He is the founder and CEO of Guardian Premier Solutions. He's led his team that has successfully pioneered the human performance optimization industry, right? That's crazy. In both the private sector and within the Department of Defense. That's a great feat. He's even an expert at training and equipping others with developing psychological and physical stamina for managing the high risk, high demand, and nature of certain careers. It's crazy. So without further ado, my brother in arms, mentor, friend, Doug Isaacks. How you doing, Chief?
I'm doing good, Data, man. I really appreciate you having me on and this opportunity. Anything that can help push the envelope for some veterans and some aspiring entrepreneurs is definitely something that I'm glad to be a part of.
Oh, well, we're glad to have you. We're glad to have you because you have quite the story. Like if you know anything about working out and, you see all of these performance enhancement drugs, performance things that comes out to like, these are new exercises you can do, calisthenics. After a while, they all look the same. But you've actually created a niche in that industry to be able to propel people forward. So if you can you tell me what you do at Guardian Premier Solutions?
Sure, absolutely. So we're characterized as either the avionics teams for the human weapon system or crew chiefs for the human weapon system. So our job is to take state sensor data, manual input data, aggregate it, and then give feedback reports to anybody that needs it. It could be a candidate, could be a coach, could be a military leader, whatever improves their decision making. So we've kind of created this ecosystem between subject matter experts, development operations, and technology, data analytics, monitoring, and reporting. So we put that together and kind of created an ecosystem around the human weapon system. So we kind of developed the human capability over time.
Wow. That's pretty crazy. So you're telling me when you say the human weapon system, now, based upon the little knowledge that I have, you're saying that for the military members that are going in the special operations, are currently in special operations, there is a certain level of fitness that should be maintained and should be had to basically to maneuver and get the job done. And so now you're saying that your systems help monitor them?
That's correct. So when you think about a weapon system, it's a far end of a spectrum. It's taking a capability, the human capability, and then developing that even a step further. So the ability to look and see the intangible items that you normally can't see. So with sensors, we're able to look into inside the body. So everything internal to the fingertips. So all those systems that are involved in how you operate as a human, we're able to look inside those, and on top of the context of the training that people are in, the mission sets that they're involved in, and be able to get a better understanding of how ready they really are. Because readiness is really strictly your potential to be able to do something, and then it's measured by effectiveness. So if we can increase that readiness by looking into the internal parts and understanding the intangible things that matter with a human capability, then we can in turn develop a human weapon system, which is the people that we send down range to do high risk, high stakes missions.
Wow. So can you predict any injuries, or can you predict any or the healing process of where, some muscles have been strained?
Sure. What we like to do, and predictive is a very strong word. That is a very challenging thing to do because anytime you inject another piece of information, that model changes. So consider it forecasting. We like to use the word forecasting. So can you forecast somebody who's in a chronic state of stress and then turn around and intervene to mitigate that stress, to get them back to center, if you will, or back to balance? And so that's what we're able to do. We can look at somebody's, central nervous system, for example, how it's functioning, and then turn around and look at when they start getting into chronic stress. Once that happens, then we have some type of recommendation, protocol, or methodology that kind of gets them back to what we call baseline. Getting them back to baseline is really important, so then they can continue to adapt and improve over time.
So are you keeping a historical data on the information that you receive on a person so you can kind of understand where their baseline is and where they're off kilter?
Yes. So we call it tactical life cycle management. So when you look at somebody from recruitment to retirement, it's this long, as serving in the military, that there's this long time that passes. So it's not a 1 year, it's not a 2 year, it's not a 5 year. It's a 10, 20, 30, 40 year record or life cycle management that we're creating. So you can kind of go back at different stages to look at that information and understand where is there a point of chronic stress? Because really, when chronic stress gets out of control, that's when you have an imbalance, and then an imbalance causes some type of injury or illness that sometimes takes longer to recover from. So we do have a what we call a record set, and we kind of track that over time.
Interesting. Nice. I like the data side of things, and you seem to be able to take that and run with it. I like that.
With data, it's amazing what you can see: anomalies, patterns, trends, things that are helpful to people, meaningful information, actionable intelligence is what we like to be able to produce when we report those type of things.
Interesting. So, not many can say that they've created a niche in their own market, right? So how has human performance optimization been accepted?
So if you look at any kind of, and it's not a trend, it's more of a process, there's always your leaders and your laggards. So the people that understand it's something bigger than just fitness. So originally, I've been involved in the fitness industry back when I was a personal trainer. So that's what it was, fitness. But fitness is very, very physical and very specific. So trying to get people to understand was a little bit of a challenge, I would say, because they look at human performance as, hey, it's just fitness, right? It's the calisthenics that you spoke about earlier. Yeah. When the reality is it's everything. It's very complex. It's not well understood because you're talking about multiple systems within the body. And it goes even beyond the general sense of just psychology and physical attributes. Every system contributes to an activity, an action, or an environment. So I think helping people understand was kind of one of the things that was the biggest challenge, because it is complex. And some people like to box things in. They want to be very precise. They want to look a certain way. And if it's unknown, it makes them feel uneasy. So it's slowly gaining more attention and more ground. But in the beginning, just being able to show people that, hey, sometimes recovery is one of the primary things you should focus on. People just want to work out harder. And that's not necessarily the case. So it took some time. I would say from the beginning, it seems about 10 years now in the making. And so it's finally gaining some ground, because I think people understanding in this day and age, with all the different stressors we have, the ability to truly manage that stress, be able to perform under pressure, being ready when you need to be ready. Yeah. And then really with technology, having the ability to have that competitive edge or competitive advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, and so are you only geared towards the DoD, or what are you doing on the private sector side?
So in the private sector, we have a sister company or a cousin relative company called Crisis Human Performance and Recovery Center. So that is going to be our commercial side of things that focuses on sport, work, and life. And so we have a lot more flexibility on that side. So that will be opening up in probably the next 30 days, the first phase of it. And it's going to be part of the ecosystem we talk about when you're actually taking private sector and things that go on in DoD, and you're actually creating a true mission partnership.
Sweet. So you're saying that the average American, we can also take advantage of this technology that you've created?
That's right, Dana. So that was kind of what we saw when we built this high-end process and protocols and system for DoD. We turned around and went, hey, how do we take this and bring it mainstream to the community? And really from a veteran standpoint, the ability to give back to the community that has supported us all these years was our primary purpose. So we decided to look at that and go, okay, let's take it mainstream and watch it run, watch it zip.
Look, put me on that list, because I would love to take advantage of that.
Hey, you're on the short list anytime. Stop through and we'll set you up.
Sweet. So, Doug, can you share your military experience, because you have a vast experience that is pretty versatile, and share the skills that you've learned that helped you on your entrepreneurship journey today?
Sure. So, really, when you look at how the military trains you, prepares you for certain environments, certain conditions, certain career fields and jobs, I think it all starts in the very beginning, learning how to work hard, pay attention to detail, have discipline, be committed to the mission, and be a great teammate. So I think all those factors played a part at different times, because being an entrepreneur, starting a business, as you well know, is tough at times. So you have to have that commitment built in. You can't do it by yourself. So you need teammates and people to collaborate with. And you have to understand it's going to be a long journey. And I think the military helps prepare, and it prepared me for those type of things. Just understanding, hey, keep your eye on the prize, stay focused, and you'll eventually achieve that objective. And if you don't, take a knee, regroup, get back on task, and move forward. So it's that ability to just keep on pushing until you get to that point that you want to be at.
Absolutely. Never quit. Never quit.
That's right. Never quit. Hoo-yah, green feet.
Yeah. So how was the transition? Because you spent so much time in the military, and it's a close-knit group, in the PJ community. Like, how did you come to terms with moving on to another career?
It was tough. The career field that I was raised in and the group of people, I had the opportunity to work with you. There's so many great people that you get to meet along the way, and you get to, you're all sharing the same challenges, right? It's just different time frames, different units, different levels. And it was kind of tough, but there comes a time when you realize that you have to go to that next chapter, and you're going to, pass the torch to somebody else. There's somebody, like they taught us early on in the military is, hey, build your replacement. There's going to come a time where you have to train somebody up, because the military will continue on. And so once the decision was made, it became a little easier. There was a little bit of anxiety, I'm not going to lie, because when you've been doing this your whole life, and you're like, okay, I'm going to stop doing this and move on to this 100%. You get a little bit anxiety, and then you realize maybe about 6 months to a year later that it's actually really happening. And then you learn as you talk to teammates or friends, or like talking to you realize that things still move on, and you keep in contact with people. So it's not like you're out to pasture, but you still are able to contact those people, and they would drop their hat and help you anytime, or take the shirt and give it off their back if they had to. So, but it was a good opportunity to transition. Just take some time, like anything else.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So, speaking of the network and the business relationships, like, how has that affected your business?
I think it's done wonders. So, having those connections built over, 20 plus years of in the service, it helps, because you understand and so many people at every location you've been at. So as they hear about things or opportunities where you can help them, I think that's really been kind of the forefront of that network. And so being able to reach out anytime, like right now, I'm actually traveling to go to retirement tomorrow for another fellow PJ who's a command chief. So again, those connections, and they help, because then you catch up, you talk about what's going on, and and especially in our realm of human performance optimization, that's something that's meaningful to everyone. And so being able to help veterans, I think, and the teammates that I grew up with in the military and friends, so it's been really good.
Awesome. So how did you even land on the term human performance optimization? And you made an acronym, right? HPO.
Correct. Yes. So it all started with human performance. So human performance started just being discussed maybe 10 to 12 years ago. And that's a very general word, right? Just human performance. And so that kind of started it. And then people realized that's more of a central piece to this bigger puzzle, right? When you talk about human performance, it could be patients, it could be people, it could be performers. All categories fit into that general area. And once we realized that, one of our goals is to engineer and develop human weapon systems, we built a broader process. And that process starts with the basics of human performance and moves them through this cycle of human performance optimization. And that's where that term, we slowly built on it. So you go from human performance improvement, human capability, and then human weapon system. That entire spectrum and process is human performance optimization. It takes you from very fundamental, basic foundations all the way to the weapon system, which is a very powerful capability on the battlefield.
So you have about 3 to 4 categories.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So now running a business and even leading a successful team is pretty challenging, right? So how did you assemble the level of the team that you have to be able to achieve and stay steadfast on the goal? Because when you're pioneering something, you really have to go through the weeds in order to get people to see the light, in other words.
Yeah, so that is that. So it's been a journey. I will tell you that. It all starts, as you know, as a business owner and an entrepreneur, it starts with you first and a few handful of people, and you assemble the right group just to get started. And you're wearing multiple hats throughout the entire time. And then what's I think most important is when you're building those teams, and this is kind of in hindsight, but it worked, is as you evolve, as you grow, you have to look 2 to 3, 4, 5 years down the road on what the next thing is, so you can assemble the right team to accomplish that goal. And so it started with a few handful of teammates, and we just built on it. And as we saw the opportunities, we tried to recruit the right type of folks. And we have a very diverse team, which is an amazing team we have. Yeah. And it's really not just about what you see on the resume. There may be some things you got to kind of look at. You got to interview multiple times. We do multiple interviews just to get a real sense of where do you fit in this big vision we have, and what can you contribute to our team. And that's kind of the process we use in iterations. And so what we were doing 10 years ago has evolved so fast, just the basics of knowledge, what we were doing, to more advanced techniques. It's grown. And but it's a very deliberate process. And I think when we started early with that process, it allowed us to get the right people on board at the right time, and then continue to evolve and grow and deliver high quality results to our customers and clients.
Nice. So, everything has its ups, and some things has its downs when you're in business, right? It's a business life cycle. You have its ups and downs. So, what have been some of your failures, and how did you overcome them?
So right out the gate, man, that's a really good question. I'll say right out of the gate, it was, everything you read about in the textbooks doesn't always translate equally to what's actually happening. Like they always say, the school of hard knocks.
Oh yeah.
And so I think that was the first thing I realized, in my MBA program, studying and reading and running these models and then trying to apply them became somewhat of a challenge, because reality sets in and things are dynamic, right? In academics, things are very static.
Yeah.
So that was the first challenge. And what I did is started reaching out to people that I knew that were successful business owners. And I would meet with them once a week, even if it's for an hour, to say, hey, why doesn't this work? Or how do I apply this? And what I learned through this, and this is very interesting. So I had some friends that, actually didn't even go to college and did amazing through the school of hard knocks. They learned, they grinded it out. Those are the type of people I reached out to. And then I had people that did the same thing. They may have not went for the master's and had just a bachelor's, but same thing. They just took the combination of the two and ran with it. And it's funny because some of the guys I know are in different industries. I mean, air conditioning. I have a friend who's in air conditioning who's done an amazing job with it. He ran with it. And I actually went through INDOC with him. He's a class behind me. And to this day, he's done a great job. So it's just amazing. I would say the first thing that all the academics, I kind of realized that you got to go beyond that.
Yeah.
And then the second thing was don't try to do it alone. You got to find people to collaborate with, to ask. And what I realized through that too is there's people I asked that I thought, another CEO of a company or a big company that actually offered their time. They were busy, but they set aside some time just to talk about a few things and a few little, pearls of wisdom, so to speak, to be able to tell a story about the things they did. And I think that helped out a lot. So that would be a thing that I would say is don't take it as is. Everything's black and white in business, because it's not. And then reach out to people, people that can help take that learning curve and flatten it a little bit for you. And
that's the point of One Real Story, is to make sure we bring real stories to inspire others. So
absolutely,
that is pretty good. So that almost brings me to, once again, I've said it before, but if you're the smartest person in the room, this is what I was told. If you're the smartest person in the room, you need to find another room to be in. And it seems like that is what you have done after, or during your education for your MBA, is to find that right circle of individuals who have that real world experience, because you were already going to get the academics.
That is true. That's, when you look at books like Good to Great and other ones that are out there, it's getting the right people on the bus and the right seat and getting things to work as best as they can. Because there's a lot of people, when you look at success cases and cases that kind of haven't done so well, it kind of gives you perspective. So it's about reaching out and getting that key bits of information, because you want to learn where the pitfalls are too, depending on what you're doing and what model of business you're running. But that's really important. And that is very spot on what you said.
So how do you feel about college? Is it a necessity for someone to be successful, or do you recommend it? How do you feel about it?
I think I do. There's something that comes with, so I guess it would go to what you're going to do. I said, you got to start there. It took me, I won't say how long to get my degree, but it took a long time. Cause originally I didn't go to college. I dropped out, couldn't play basketball like I wanted to in college. So I kind of said, school's not for me. And I ended up going back. And that's what started the idea of business. I got a degree in health sciences. And then I went, what do I want to do next? And I said, maybe take and running a business would be good. And it actually, it's funny you say that, because I actually stopped 2 classes short of my MBA to start a business. And so everybody's telling me, go back and do the last 2 classes. Like, no, I got what I needed. I'm just going to go ahead and start business. Yeah. And I had to go back and get those 2 last classes. They were capstones. So I had to go back anyways. I'm like, man, I should just knock them out. But I think what helped in that is getting some foundational knowledge. I could have probably learned it on my own, but there are some professors that did a really great job in the practical application academics. So I'm kind of torn between whether you go to college. I think it helps, especially if depending on the level of discipline you have. I'm glad I went. So I'm kind of torn between it. Some people I know I've heard they haven't had to go.
Right.
Some people have, and I've heard different hybrid stories of it. So go to school for a specific field you want to be in, and then start a business, because business is very general, right? So now you have the specific education. So I've seen different models run. So I'm kind of torn, because I'm really glad I went to get kind of updated with the most current information out there, and not just stuff that's on blogs. Yeah. But sometimes it's the hard work that actually gets you there, not necessarily the schooling.
And absolutely, I agree, because I know. I wasn't a school person. I was going to MBA. Yeah. you told me anything, I was going to MBA, and my backup plan was being an architect. But that required for me to go to school. And, that wasn't the most, I didn't have the highest GPA. Let's say that. Made enough to play ball. But I can say that when I went to technical school, right, because that was required to do some sort of engineering, to break into the engineering in a drafting capacity or as a designer, I quickly realized that in order to make more money to support a family, I had to go and get a higher level of education at that particular time because I wanted a white collar job. And in order to get that white collar job, I had to pay my dues because once I went into it where I wanted to own my own engineering firm. So going through the ranks, I looked at the business. I dressed for the job that I wanted versus the job that I had. So I kind of agree with you. There's different levels of, is college for certain people or is it not? I think that, hey, technical school showed me the money, showed me the technical skills to get the job done, which was the meat and potatoes, not without the fluff. I would also have to say that in order to get into college and get into the schooling, taking psychology, sociology, art appreciation, and all that, I actually took it to make myself more well-rounded. I come from nothing, and the level of education wasn't the highest. So if I can be more cultured and be more well-rounded, I felt that I could handle myself better in all levels of society. So that was my motivation at that particular time. And, you never stop. Once you go to the military, it helps you. You have nothing better else to do to get college education if you're smart about it. So when you get ready to transition, you could be successful like yourself with an MBA.
I think that's happened with the military. The military kind of made that happen. They offered the opportunity to go to school. I don't know if I would have otherwise. And that's important to recognize. The military had that. When people say you don't get to do a lot of things in the military, I have to say there's a lot of things that can be done. And it's timing too, to your point. It's all about the timing of what you want to do or what you don't want to do, or you're not sure of. I wanted to be, my first degree plan was criminal justice. And then I went into psychology. And so I couldn't figure it out. And then ended up with deciding to go business and researching it. And like you said, and what I think was important too is being a student of life. Yes. So just always reading, keeping up to date on things, and being well versed, diverse, and like you said, culturally, because I'm always reading or taking courses that are short courses just to learn, hey, what's the most current thing? What's on the horizon? What's emerging? Because you have to keep on top of, content and things like that to be able to continue to grow.
You get addicted to it. So where you were before not focused on school as much, then you become addicted. Yeah, I agree. So what advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur? That's a good one, isn't it?
It is. That's a good question, because there's so many, when you look at the journey, because I've seen some businesses grow right out of the gate, got a great product, got a great service, and it's like, bam. Some take time. For us, it took us 10 years. And I would say, do not underestimate the magnitude of the task, because it's tough and it's not going to be easy. And if you understand that right up front, I think that helps you get in the right mindset. So when something doesn't go as planned, you're like, okay, I understand this is going to happen. And I think, not that you don't want to strive for excellence and perfection, but kind of meeting that optimism, so you don't kind of run out of space, run out of runway, and think that you're a failure. And I've seen this multiple times with, and this is other friends that are entrepreneurs. They had that bottoming out period where it's like they were at the bottom, they thought it was gone, and then it just went, and it just took off. And it's like the stock market, right? It has to pull back and take off. So I would say that's something to really put up front in your mind. Because if you think you have the thing that's just going to come out of the gate and be a multi-trillionaire, you could, if you win the lottery too. So that's what I would recommend, and trying to share that with people, because I think it's been a long road, a long journey. And I think you can attest to that too, the way you've set things up. And it takes a level of commitment that I think if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
So that is one of the best advice I've ever heard, because you said 10 years. We're talking about all of your accomplishments right now, and you're saying 10 years. Most businesses fail within the first 3 years. If you make it to 5, you're okay. You're probably going to last. But you've been pioneering this whole entrepreneurship journey for 10 years. That is, that goes to saying that business is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes.
Now, how about this? I heard the other day, I was talking to my buddy and he reminded me of that. Yeah, business is a marathon, not a sprint. And then he says, well, what if you never run a marathon? So you just got to go for the long haul. So if you prepare yourself, just like you said, for the long haul, you should be okay.
It's a mindset. What we talk about on our team is, pressure is a privilege. So understanding that it's going to happen, it's going to be applied to you, but how you deal with it and how you handle it and how you get out of it on the other end is what's really important. It's the basic, as you learn in sport, adversity.
Yeah.
When you get a couple losses, doesn't mean the season's over.
Yeah. Yep. Look, I'm short. I was always the underdog. It was never no quitting me. I was gonna win either way.
Yeah. Win. Hey, you give what you have in the fourth quarter, and after that, you give what you have left.
Absolutely. So, all right, Doug. So, what's the most exciting presentation that you gave, and then who was your audience?
So that's a good question too. There's a few that come to mind that I can think of, and again, when you get asked to present, and that's part of the mindset, is it's kind of an honor, right? So I mean, somebody believes in you, that you have information or experience or some type of background that you can help other people learn and contribute to their journey, whatever that may be. So there's a few I would say that come to mind. One of the big ones at Ohio State University at Wexler Medical Center at the inaugural Brain Health and Performance Summit. That was a great experience. It was a large venue. I kind of wasn't expecting it. And it was there to talk about special operations and stress and how that affects special operators. So it was, a group of scientists and doctors and people across different performance career fields. And they were there to listen to myself in a panel to talk about how stress affects special operators, and then what people in the audience might listen to be able to contribute to that in the future. They have a fundamental understanding. Is there a process, a product, or something that they have that they can hear our stories and hear our presentations and turn around and say, hey, maybe we can help. And then a few other ones. I was able to present at the MIT Sports Lab Summit. And that was great because that's in the world of technology. So you have these up and coming people that are building amazing things at MIT, and being able to talk to them about the same thing, what human performance optimization is, the network we need behind the military community. If there's technology that could help solve real problems, that was really fun. It was a small venue. I mean, it was a little auditorium, but it was the most amazing thing to actually get personal with some of the most brilliant minds that I've seen, to be able to talk to them firsthand and see the ideas they can come up with, and then how we can collaborate to help them provide some kind of technology that could really help the future of military veterans or special operators. So I'd say those are the big two that really come to mind, amongst other opportunities. I mean, they're all great to do, and they're all different venues, which is amazing to do. Actually, you know what? The tactical strength and conditioning, the annual conference. So I got to speak there. So now, you're talking to all the premier tactical teams or tactical strength coaches that are out there, and being able to present to them to talk about processes and things we're doing, what we're seeing. And so really, when you take it from a medical aspect and health, from tactical performance and then to technology, I think each one of those was a different theme that was able to basically contribute to, and then that create that feedback loop. So, and seeing them down the road. So I've seen a few people at other conferences as well. So those are I say there's not really one, but there's a few of them that really stand out.
That's pretty interesting. So, and that's pretty awesome as well. But so, because you were pioneering a road which a niche in your industry, you chose to go and speak to students at universities, for example, MIT. And is it because you were helping them possibly think further? into
Yeah,
the
just
industry
yeah,
to grow it?
giving them an idea of kind of what challenges that maybe the military faces, or concepts and ideas. Those are the things that, because we got asked just because of our backgrounds and what we were doing, and since MIT has some brilliant minds, we got invited.
Oh,
The
okay.
first time just to come watch, and second time to interact. And actually, interesting enough, years later, so it's been 2 years. One of the one of the people I met there, who presented to the group an up and coming technology, we're actually using it now. So you want to talk about a small world? We're actually working together on a project, and it was interesting. So we got introduced, and we were talking, and I said, "I saw your presentation." I go, "You were presenting this product that you were developing." I said, "Now here it is, and now we're working together to get into the special operations community." I mean, how cool is that? A couple of years later, when all they're doing is just doing an intro because it's not going mainstream yet, and then you actually see it become a reality. It was pretty amazing to find out a couple of years later, and to reconnect with them. And actually, at the TSAC Tactical Strength and Conditioning Conference, I ran into him again. So small world,
Nice.
and
Yeah.
it happened to be in San Antonio, and he traveled there from the East Coast.
Yeah. Now he's a part of your network. That's pretty
It
good.
is.
That's pretty good. That's pretty awesome. So, with all those different accomplishments, right? One of the biggest ones that I am proud of you is a magazine that I grew up like looking at. I was maybe you can call it I was a sports guy, nerd guy, all around guy, whatever you want to call it. But Popular Mechanics, how does it feel to be featured in the Popular Mechanics magazine?
It's surreal. You come from a career field where one of our attributes is to be humble and have humility. And so for someone to come out, talk to your team, because we have an amazing team. I work with some of the greatest people. To be able to see that actually come to reality it's kind of, you're just like, wow, that actually happened, in a magazine. Because I'm with you. That's one of the magazines I enjoy reading. And so to see that was kind of surreal, but it's exciting, right? What it shows you is you're with a group of people and a bunch of teammates that make this stuff happen, and to see it, in an article and being demonstrated and talked about and circulated, it's just exciting. It shows that, it's kind of shows you that your hard work and your dedication, your teammates and everything else comes together, and there is a reward at the end of it, and it's not about being in the spotlight all the time, kind of being the engine behind that, but it was great to see. Everybody's excited. People are sharing it and sending it around, of course. Hey, check this out. You guys are your team's featured in this article, and it's just really it's exciting. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. All right. So, Doug, what are your plans now for the future, and what projects or business, ventures that you have in mind for the future?
Really to continue to strengthen our position. So, the big, the BHAG, right? Big, hairy, audacious goal is to create the HPO industry. It doesn't really exist. They put it under medical, but what we're trying to say is, listen, when you go fill out one of those questionnaires about your background and you go select what industry you're in, it's like healthcare, financial. One of the things we want to see is that be placed in there where it says, hey, you're part of the HPO industry. And then from there, help the industry really grow with folks. So we're in a good position now to continue to balance out that portfolio, because HPO is so big. It's really huge when you really understand what it is. It's not fitness. It's very big. So that's really the big goal we're working on, is to continue to strengthen the position, develop the industry, collaborate with folks, because we're talking about solving real problems.
Yeah.
Whether it be anything from, psychological, physiological, physical, just human systems challenges. That's really what our goal is. And then again, like I talked about earlier, we want to create that true mission partner. How do we get industry and the military to work really close? Not talk about, being a mission partner, on spouses' days and things like that, but actually being a mission partner where that feedback loop's happening. Create a economic development program for industry, especially in the times of what's happening now with COVID. People that are going to college, how do you take it and translate those skill sets? So a lot of that is going to be revolved around the HPO industry. And that's really what we have on the horizon for the next, like I was telling you earlier, we already know this is a 30, 40, 50-year plan,
Yeah.
not something that's 1 or 2. So it's a big goal to make a dent in the universe, but that's what we're going to do.
Sweet, sweet. So, Doug, where can anyone or everyone find you?
Sure. I mean, the best way is our website, www.gpscorps.com. That's where, all our information is. They can reach out to me there if they'd like, just let me know what they want. And that's where it all starts. Usually when people reach out, we'll always take the time if we can help someone and they got a real question about something they want to do. If we can shorten that curve or flatten that curve like we talked about, that's what they could do. 1, for HPO, but 2, to help any entrepreneurs. It's a tough road, but anything we can help to walk alongside them, we're willing to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, as always, look, Doug, thanks for your time today and sharing your story. I'd love to have you back again and talk more and maybe even have a Q&A session if you're up for it.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. Thanks for having me on. I mean, this is a real opportunity to be able to share, and definitely grateful you reached out and we can make this happen. So anytime, let me know. I'm game for it and would be honored to actually help in any way possible.
Awesome. And to our listeners, thank you for your time today. Let us know what you think of our show and stay tuned. There's more to come with our book series and episodes. If you have any questions or would like to continue to be inspired, you can always find us at onerealstory.com. And remember, with fear, you will quit anything you pursue in life. Fear will stop you from being great, but with courage, you will conquer all. See you next time.